These clips of all these women talking about where have the providers and protectors gone. Let a 60-year-old man tell you young men out there from experience. 3 different marriages, 10 different kids, 7 of them step. You get nothing out of being a provider or a protector. Nothing. Insults, ridicule, abandonment, that's all that awaits you. People won't even remember all the sacrifices that you made, financially, physically, or in any way. They won't even care. So young man, save yourself. Focus on yourself. Put your money in your pocket. Worry about your own survival because nobody else will.
I got into a heated debate with an older gentleman today, talking about provider men, what men should provide in a relationship for a significant other, this, that, and the third. He's 60 years old, right? Him and his wife have been married for numerous amount of years. And he explained to me, yeah, man, my wife has never had to touch a bill, this, that, and the third. And I was like, I get it, OG. I get it. But do you know what economy we're in right now? And he said, yeah, y'all young folks just ain't trying to make enough money. I'm like, okay, well, how much money do you think these young folks need to make to provide for 2 people off of one income? He said 6 figures, $100,000. First of all, only 18% of Americans make $100,000 a year. Everybody ain't touching $100,000, right? Let's just break down the necessities, though. Let's say you make $100,000, right? Let's start with rent. I'm in here in Washington. Rent for a 2-bedroom, $2,400. Let's multiply that times 12. Get your notepads out, man, and keep follow. $28,800, $2,400 a month for a year. Subtract that by 100,000, you got $71,200. All right. Next, we got 2 car notes. I'm just assuming average 2 $400 car notes. That's $800. Multiply that times 12, $9,600. Minus that times 71,000, you got $61,600. Right. Now we got 2 insurances. Right. I'm assuming they $300 a pop, $600 for both. Times that times 12, we got $7,200. We are now at $54,400, right? Now let's talk about groceries. $300 a month times 12, that's $3,600. Minus that times $54,400, we got $50,800 left.
Nah, them numbers are not making any sense. $300 a month on groceries? Bro, do you live, even if you lived alone, just to have meat will cost you $300 a week. Look, let's break down why he believes he can't be a provider in today's economy. Okay, because I know there's a lot of you out there that are saying the same thing this guy is saying right here. A lot of you are saying, and a lot of you are taking advice from the older dude, the baby boomer, who's made massive mistakes. He lists rent, car notes, not a car, but car notes. I don't know if he lives on his own or not. Insurance, groceries, 2 separate insurances, and basically argues that unless you make over $100K, being a traditional provider isn't realistic anymore. I beg to differ. I disagree. And I think you can make less. All right, let's deal with that for a second here. A lot of men today talk about how bad things are financially, but rarely mention how much they're spending on things that you guys don't actually need. You guys are not budgeting like men who are trying to build something. You're budgeting like a bunch of men trying to keep up with social media. Let's call it what it is. All right, let's talk about the numbers real quick. Some of the things that he left out here, and I'm going to go back into history just to make my point. A police officer, I'll use a police officer as an example. in New York City back in the 1970s made around $10,000 to $12,000 a year. A brownstone in Brooklyn at that time was somewhere between $35,000 and $100K. Okay? And that all depends. I mean, these brownstones needed work. Yes, they were probably in the hood. It didn't matter. When you look at the income, that's about 3 to 8 times their income. Now, fast forward to today. An NYPD police officer, just a police officer, not a detective or a sergeant or anything like that, in Brooklyn can earn over $140,000 a year. Some are earning more, and that's with overtime. The average home in Brooklyn today is around $750,000, depending on where you live. Now, that's about 5 to 6 times the average officer's income. So in reality, when we look at the numbers, the housing to income ratio hasn't gotten worse. It's actually become a bit more manageable in many career fields. Not to mention, back then, they had 15% interest rates. Today, what is it, 6, 7? What are we talking about here? It's how you live. You see, the baby boomers before the first guy, because he was like at the tail end of being a baby boomer. But the people before him, the people born in the 50s and the 60s, right? They didn't care about image. They bought homes in the hood and working class neighborhoods, and they drove used cars. They maintained what they had. They didn't care about keeping up with trends or trying to look rich before they actually were. And let's be honest, today's generation lives above their means as a standard. You've got single men in 1-bedroom apartments paying $3K a month just to say they live in Brickell, Miami. Financing $50,000 vehicles they can't afford, eating out 5 nights a week, buying designer brands while holding credit card debt. Then they turn around and say being a provider is unrealistic. So let's be clear. The reason most men today can't be providers isn't because life is too expensive. It's because they can't afford the lifestyle that they're living. You don't have to live in Brickell, Miami. And if you're single, you don't need a 2-bedroom apartment. You don't need 2 cars. Even if you were in a situationship, you don't need 2 cars. You can drop her off to work. You can do it. 9 times out of 10, these guys, they're maintaining their lives with help. Their girlfriend, or in some cases, their situationship, is more than likely covering half the bills, if not more. That's what allows them to finance these cars and sign apartment leases and buy overpriced garbage they wouldn't be able to afford if they were living on their own. These men believe a woman has to work, must work to make ends meet. And not because the economy demands it, but because their inflated lifestyle does. It's the subscriptions, right? It's the constant eating out. It's the vacations that they finance. They can't even afford to go on vacations and spend cash for it. It's the unnecessary second cars, the latest phones, the always forever fast changing fashion. It's the impulsive spending. That's why they feel broke. Because their money is being drained by choices and not survival. And here's the result, man. When a woman is paying half the bills, she stops looking at you as a provider. She stops looking at you as a leader. And that's where the masculine energy comes from. It's a reaction to being in a role she didn't want, but had to step into because you couldn't carry the load. Provision isn't just about money, man. It's about responsibility. And you can't expect her to be feminine and submissive or cooperative when she's in the trenches with you financially. It doesn't work. It will never work. You don't earn that respect by default. You earn it by taking the weight off of her shoulders. Now, let's be even more real. As for the first guy, being a provider is not for a girlfriend. I'm sorry to tell you. It's not for a baby mama. I'm sorry to tell you. It's not for someone you're casually dating. That's the mistake you guys are making. You guys are out there spending money every week or every other week, going out balling, trying to act like a baller when you're not. That level of responsibility is for a wife and only a wife. Someone who has proven herself to be loyal and consistent and committed to you. That's who you build for. But today's men are providing image only and not substance. They're focused on looking like a man and not living like one. And when they say, I can't be a provider, I don't make enough, what they really mean is, I'm not willing to downgrade my lifestyle to become one. You guys want to live above your means. Absolutely. Now, whether I agree or disagree with these content creators, I'm always going to give credit where credit is due and link them back to my description. You can find them there and you can go check out their profile. I honestly, man, you can be a provider with a lot less than $100,000. Stop living above your means. With that, I'll see you guys in the comments. What say you? Do you agree, disagree? Are we just out of control, spending money recklessly? I believe so. I'll see you guys on the next one.